I never had a good relationship with my father. I barely knew him. Whenever he was home, he was drunk. He would always beat me and my two younger sisters. I was always happier when I got home and I saw no sign of him. I would lock myself in my bedroom and pray he wouldn't be home for a while. Whenever he wasn't beating us, he was hungover or sleeping. Those were the best memories that I've had of him. The ones where he wasn't hurting us. He died when I was 14. He'd been in the bar drinking, no doubt about it. He was found dead near that same bar. There were no signs of foul play, and so immediately it was assumed he had died of natural causes, most likely his liver or his heart. I can't say I've ever really mourned his death. He had never been a true father to me. All he ever shown me and my sisters was anger and hatred. He never tried. I suppose now I know the truth. I can't blame him for that. I don't even think I would have had the strength to carry on if I experienced what he had. Just around 7 years after my father's death, I found an old diary. At first, I thought it was my mother's, but as I read the pages, I realized that it must have been my father's. I had no real memories of him. I didn't even hold on to the trauma he had given me. Dear diary, I am writing this here in hopes that someone will find it. Someone who will finally understand what I've been trying to tell them all for years. I know that if I ever let myself get sober, it will return. And I say it because I really don't know what it is. It's out to get me, and I don't know what it wants from me. I'm scared for my wife and my children. I wish Diana would hurry and divorce me. I wish she'd take David, Isabel, and Lauren with her. They would be safer with their mother. I know I'd miss them, but you have to understand me. This is about them. If one of them finds this, I know I was never a good father, but please don't hate me for it. You'll understand soon. When I was 5, my mother died, and my father could no longer afford rent of our current house. We had no choice but to move. We eventually found an unbelievable deal on a beautiful house. Only $1,300 just to buy it, not rent. Buy. Someone must have really wanted to get rid of it. Now I think I can see why they wanted that horrible thing out of their life. They wanted to make it someone else's problem. That thing, it killed my father too. After that, his new target must have been me. Before his death, everyone, including myself, believed that my father was insane. He kept having these repeated night terrors of what he nicknamed a creature. Whenever someone asked about it, he went completely silent and just cried. I never seen my father cry that much. Not even when my mother passed away. I was scared for him. He was the only family I had left, and I didn't want to lose him. When he was found dead, there was no evidence to say that it had been anything sinister. It appeared it has to be a natural death. They assumed it had been a heart attack. I wasn't so sure anymore. The periods that he had been screaming and crying, saying that whatever the creature was to kill him. Then the next day, he was actually found dead. At the same time, I didn't want people to think that I was also going crazy, so I kept quiet. That night, I finally saw what had terrorized my father for the last years of his life. The creature. It was shaped like a spider. 8 long skinny legs, 4 piercing red eyes, and the teeth. It makes me shiver even thinking about it. When I started experiencing nightmares of the creature, I turned to heroin and beer. It worked. I'm not quite sure why. I never had another dream of that thing, as long as I was just about ready to overdose or die from alcohol poisoning. Anything that could keep me away was what I needed right then and there. But it had its toll. I never had the opportunity to really know my children. I never got to know anyone anymore. I was just too afraid that if I didn't keep drinking myself into the grave, I'd see it again. It was really that bad. That was the first entry, and I wasn't sure how to feel after reading. I didn't even know if I wanted to continue, but the curiosity got the better of me. I decided to continue reading and see what my father had to say. I don't know what to do. The nightmares have started again. It's driving me insane. I can't get it out of my head. I'm scared for my children, for my wife, even for myself. I know I'm not a good man, but I would have stood a chance if I hadn't fought the creature. The energy was shorter, but his handwriting was messier. I think he rushed as he wrote it. There was one final entry before the remaining pages were completely blank. Someone save me. It's driving me crazy. I can't get rid of that thing. I think it's gonna kill me. I can't even sleep at night without fearing what I might see next. I have to warn my son. It wasn't even a long page, but it was enough to send shivers down my spine. I don't know what he would have told me if he lived long enough, but I'm not sure that he died of cardiac arrest anymore. David? My sister said from behind me. What's that? She added, looking at the library. I considered my response carefully. He was her father too. She deserved to know. It's a diary. Dad's diary, I replied. She frowned. He had a diary? She asked. I nodded. I leaned forward and held the diary out towards her. Here, take it, I said. She took the diary and studied its contents carefully. I watched her face change as she read each entry. She went pale, and dropped the diary on the ground when she was done. She stared at me. What was he going to warn you about, David? She said, her voice full of concern. I shook my head. I'm not sure, I replied. She stood in silence for a minute, thinking about what to say next. Be careful, she said at last. I didn't even need to ask what she meant. If that is right and that thing is going to target you, me, or Izzy next, we need to be mindful of it, she added. I nodded. You're right, I said. I paused, but remembered Dad was addicted to drugs. He wasn't in his right mind. For all we know, he could have made all this up. He's been dead for 7 years. I haven't seen any creature in my dreams. Have you? I asked. She shook her head. I haven't, no. I don't know if what's written in that is true or not. I think it's possible it could line up the events of his life perfectly, but honestly, I think it's better to be safe than sorry, she said. I shook my head. I don't know. I wasn't quite sure what to believe. I had no concrete evidence of my dad's claims. He had been gone for 7 years. There was no way of knowing. That night, I wanted to sleep, and for the first time, I felt genuinely afraid to close my eyes. I tried to keep my positive thoughts, but after a while, my mind started to drift back towards the creature, and for the first time in a while, I slipped into a nightmare. The creature was on top of me. Its piercing red eyes staring into my own. I could have sworn it was staring into my soul. You should have never read that diary. I thought I heard it say that. I woke up in a cold sweat, gasping for air. It was just a nightmare, I muttered to myself. I laid back down and stared at the ceiling. I didn't sleep again for the rest of the night. I was too scared to sleep. When the sun finally showed her face, I clambered out of bed and walked out into the highway. From the corner of my eye, I saw 4 red dots, but when I turned to look, I saw nothing. A shiver ran up my spine. I paid it no mind. My sister was quiet this morning. Bad dream? I asked. She looked at me. She looked like she hadn't slept all night, a feeling I could relate to. Izzy seemed her normal self. From what I could see, the creature only targeted those who knew of its existence. Me and Lauren had read Dad's diary. Izzy knew nothing of its existence, and she seemed fine. I didn't want to risk her being targeted as well, so I kept my mouth shut about the diary and the creature. I knew Lauren was doing the same. When Izzy finally out of the room, I looked at Lauren. Did we both dream about the exact same thing, only after reading Dad's diary? She nodded. We need to keep this between ourselves. She nodded in agreement. What happened in your dream? In mine, I saw the creature. I'm pretty sure it said something like, you shouldn't have read the diary. I said, looking at her. She nodded. My dream was the same, she said. After it said that, I woke up. She added and sighed. This doesn't make sense, I said. She paused. I thought I saw in the morning in the corner of my eye, but when I turned to look, there was nothing there. She said. I shivered. I had the exact same experience. I didn't need to say anything. She already knew by the look on my face I'd seen it too. For the next weeks, the things only got worse. Every night we suffered from nightmares. The creature was always at the heart of our bad dreams. Eventually, I started seriously considering drugs and alcohol. It had worked for my father before me. Maybe it was worth a try. I stole his diary. I planned to finish the story. He could never copy himself. I was afraid Izzy might find it. I didn't want her to end up like me and Lauren. The situation was already bad enough. I'm not my father, but I think I finally understood his pain and suffering. He wasn't a bad man. He was a man who suffered from an unbelievable trauma. One I'm hoping might be tied to this diary and his old house I wrote before I tore out the page. That was exactly it. I needed to burn the diary. I searched the house. Eventually I found an old box of matches. I went out in the garden and I lit the diary in flames. It could no longer hurt anyone else. David, what's that? I heard Izzy say it from behind me. I quickly scanned my brain for a good response. It's porn. I finally blurted out. She raised an eyebrow. Oh, she said. She chuckled. I've seen you growing out that face then, eh? She said teasingly. Yeah, I replied noddingly. I got better things to do with my time now, I added. I didn't know if she believed me, but I was glad she wasn't praying for more details. She eventually walked away without any other word. I watched the diary burn until there was nothing left but ashes. I walked back inside and looked at Laura. I burned it, I said quietly. She raised an eyebrow. Burned what? She asked, frowning. The diary, I said. She nodded. Okay, she said. She paused. Maybe that's all it took, she said, to free us. About 2 hours later, my sister was found dead, seemingly of natural causes. I know I'm next, so I'm posting this here in hopes that someone out here can piece this together. It's happening to my family. At the same time, see, like anyone who hears about this creature is targeted by it, so I may have just put you all on his target list, but be careful when you go to sleep tonight, if you dare. I wanted to say thank you guys for hearing this video. I wanted to post the video out because, I'm kind of unproductive today. I hope you guys do enjoy though, and it's a longer video. I'm trying to do more longer videos, so yeah, see ya, bye.